Welcome to another Furswood online video lesson. I'm your teacher Hashim Malik, and today we're going to cover fractions using common denominators. In this first example, we are being asked to add 1/8 to 5/6. Now, in order to tackle this question, we need to find the common denominator. Now, the common denominator is the lowest multiple which both 8 and 6 go into. Now, after thinking for some time, we realise that the lowest common multiple of both 8 and 6 is 24. However, we must think, what did we do to get from 8 to 24, and what do we do from 6 to get to 24? Now, to get from 8 to 24, we multiplied this by 3. And to get from 6 to 24, we multiplied this by 4. Whatever we do to the denominators, 8 and 6, we must also do to the numerators, 1 and 5. And so, as we times the denominator 8 by 3, we must times 1, the numerator, by 3. We must also times the 5 in the 5/6 by 4, as we times 6 by 4 to get to 24. We can now rewrite our fractions using these multiplications. So we can call our two denominators 24, as we've worked out the common denominator of 24. But now in the first fraction, 1/8, we must times the 1 by 3. And in the second fraction, we must times the 5 by 4. We must now work out these multiplications and rewrite all of the fractions. So 3 times by 1 is 3, all over 24. Add 5 times by 4, which is 20, all over 24. We now have a very simple fraction in which we can now just add the numerators together. This will give us 20 added to 3, all over 24, which will give us our final answer of 23 divided by 24. In this next example, we are going to be taking away 3/5 from 7/8. Now, in order to do this, a bit like the example before, we must find our common denominator. And our common denominator will be a number which both 8 and 5 go into and is also the lowest one, otherwise known as our lowest common multiple. So this number will be 40. But we must now think, what did we do to get from 8 to get to 40? To get to 8 to 40, we must have multiplied this number by 5. And to get from 5 to 40, we must have multiplied this number by 8. So we must now think, what do we need to do to the numerators 7 and 3 after we have this new common denominator? So, as we multiplied 8 by 5 to get to 40, we must also multiply 7 by 5. And once again, as we multiplied 5 by 8, we must multiply this 3 by 8. And we can now rewrite our fractions using these multiplications. So with our common denominators being 40, we can write in our first fraction 7 multiplied by 5. In our second fraction, we can write 3 multiplied by 8. We can now rewrite this, working out our multiplications in our new fractions. So 7 multiplied by 5 will give us an answer of 35 over 40. And in our next fraction, 3 multiplied by 8 gives us 24. We put this over 40. We now have a very simple fraction, which we can now put together, giving us 35 minus 24 all over 40. So now all we have to do is work out 35 minus 24. This gives us an answer of 11 over 40. In this worded example, please take time to pause the video and read the question in full to make sure that you have a good understanding of what the question is asking. Now, in this question, we're being asked to take 2/7 away from 7/8, as we can write below. So now, in order to answer this question, we must think to ourselves, what is the common denominator in both 7 and 8? So their lowest common multiple is 56. And we must now think, what do we do to get from 8 to 56? And what do we do to 7 to get to 56? To get from 8 to 56, we must have multiplied 8 by 7. And to get from 7 to 56, we must have multiplied 7 by 8. So, we must now take charge of our numerators and see what we must do to them. As we multiplied 8 by 7, we must also multiply 7 by 7 at the top here. And in the other numerator too, as we multiplied 7 by 8 on the bottom, we must multiply 2 by 8 as well on the top. And we can now rewrite our fractions using these multiples. So we start off by writing out our denominators, which are 56, and we fill in the top numerators with these multiplications. We can now once again rewrite the fractions, working out the multiplications on the top. 7 times 7 will give us 49. I can write this over 56. And 2 times by 8 will also give us 16, which we can write over 56. We now can combine these together to write one big fraction of 49 minus 16 all over 56. This will give us a nice answer of 33 all over 56. We tutor the UK national curriculum online to any country in the world, so no matter where you are, get in touch and access our services at www.furswoodtuitioncentre.com.